2009. You were the very first person we interviewed.
Oh, wow.
Rockpit,
Okay.
So
I'm glad we're both here.
Yeah. It's a big time at the moment for Tyketto. Second time on the cruise. You're playing the main stage this time as well.
Yeah. A lot of that was down to the people who came and sort of rediscovered us last time in the Black and White Lounge, which, for those of you who don't know, is a nice little venue, but it is small. And once you've got people standing in front, you don't see anything but people in the band's heads after that. Yeah. And people just said, with the type of energy that band has, why aren't they on a bigger stage? And it's the power of the fans, bless them.
It's incredible how it works. I mean, we were over in Miami for a couple of days before the cruise and put you at the pre-party show, and the number of people who were actually going around, and Americans who were going around saying, never heard of this band.
Who are these guys? Yeah, I mean, 25 years later.
I was going to say, what does that tell you 25 years later? The fact that when people hear the music, they love it.
Yeah, no, that's something that I couldn't give you an explanation as to the where or the why, but someone did come up to me and say, we're so looking forward to hearing you play because your music makes us happy. And I don't really need anything deeper than that, I don't think. That's a great thing to be remembered for.
It is. I mean, the first time we saw you was way back in 1991 when you talked about it in the Q&A that we had before, the show that you did with White Lion and Mike Tramp.
Yeah.
And on that night, we were there with a group of friends. We were the ones who were singing those words to those songs when it had just come out. Everyone loved the album, and I told Mike this when I interviewed him earlier. You actually blew him on stage that night. I mean, he said he had a sore throat, but whether that's true or not, I'm not sure.
We, for one thing, Geffen was not interested in Europe. It was quite discouraging. They were like, wow, you don't sell a lot of records there. Why bother? It's like, why bother? It's because that's one of the great areas of rock and roll, the UK. And so we went over there because we knew White Lion and we were with their management, so it was easy to arrange. We had no expectations, and as we said, people had already gotten hold of the album and it had started to take hold. So we walked out. The first show was St. David's Hall in Wales, in Cardiff. Yeah. And we just hoped that they didn't throw stuff at us, because the Brits are a bit known for that back then. And it was the opposite. We opened up with Wings and everybody just went, hey! And suddenly what's been going on for 25 years is, they took the chorus.
Yeah.
And we've had this relationship with the UK ever since. It's been wonderful. And the rest of Europe as well.
It is. Virtually speaking to every English person that we've bumped into on a cruise, they've all said that you are one of the bands that they're here to see.
Yeah, so, I mean, they adopted us. There's no question about it. And even when things were at their leanest, we would always manage a UK tour. That's where the fans are for us.
So talking to some of the other guys earlier after the Q&A, they said that a new album is
yeah, excuse me. Well, we're so happy with Chris Green. He's slotted in so beautifully into the lead guitar spot that we've started kicking around songwriting ideas, and we've usually with us it's the spark, and we've got one. We've got a song that everybody kind of stepped back when we were done and went, oh, hang on a minute, that sounds an awful lot like Tyketto. That. So it makes sense. 2016 is our 25th anniversary of the first album.
Yeah.
So finally that's getting re-released, which is a huge thing for us.
Okay. Any bonus tracks on?
Yeah, we're not allowed to, unfortunately.
Right.
That's one of the requirements. It has to stay as it was. Geffen owns the album.
Yeah.
And so, but Rock Candy's going to be releasing it, and we just thought, what a great 1-2 punch to have a brand new album of music, because now it's been 3 years since Digging Deep came out.
It's been a while. I mean, not that you're all not particularly busy though. I mean, you've got a lot of other things on the go. You seem to be having a bit of a sort of very, very busy time.
Yeah, a bit of a renaissance for me. Year to year, either doing my solo things. I just did a duet acoustic tour with Dan Reed from the Dan Reed Network that was just one of the best musical experiences of my life, and we're already talking about more and trying to record together, and it's a lot of good talk about that. Tyketto is going to be busier next year than we've been in a long time, and I still do the Ultimate Eagles as well. You know, my Eagles tribute show, which we're touring around with.
And last time we spoke, there was talk of you taking the Ultimate Eagles down to Australia.
I know, and it was actually really serious. Somebody was being approached, and there was options being discussed and all that, and then it kind of disappeared. So we got to start again. One way or another, I'm getting down there.
So, I mean, half a dozen people on the cruise from Australia have said they're really, really keen to get you down. I mean, we've got a couple of promoters in mind. What's it going to take to get you guys down there?
Well, I mean, if you've got a couple of promoters in mind, the first thing to do is just get them in touch with myself and Michael, and let us, see where they're coming from and all that, and then we can, it's not for lack of desire, that's for sure.
Was the 25 years. We've seen the video, which were you pleased with how that came out? It's a pretty different.
It's like a lot of things. It sort of happens by happy accident. The only reason it came about was because I had all these video cassettes, and when I moved to Europe, I couldn't bring everything, so stuff got sold, stuff got thrown away. But I didn't want to lose hold of that because we had a video camera right from the first. It was a present from our management when we signed the record deal with Geffen. So we spent a lot of time, more than I realized, but back then a video camera was about this big, like you were filming a TV show. It was a full VHS thing that you held on your shoulder, and so I didn't realize quite how much stuff we had. And I just said to Michael, you got to go through it sometime. And people have always asked that, we do a live DVD. So we thought, let's look through some of the old footage, see what we come up with, if there's something good live that we could put with something new. And really, Michael took it all on himself. And he got back to me after a while and said, there's some stuff on here that's going beyond just a live thing. He said, there might be enough footage here to really tell our band's story. And he said, the more I'm looking at it, the more I'm thinking, this is a good story. It's a story about a rock band from how it begins to how it ends, who doesn't make it quite to the top. It's not the Anvil story. It's not where you were for a minute, huge and on stadiums. I mean, we did play stadiums, opening for big bands, but Tyketto is very lucky in that we get lumped in. People mention us in the same breath with Night Ranger and Poison and Journey and White Lion. We didn't sell anywhere near as many records as those bands, but we made an impression that lasted. And so, that's what the documentary is. Instead of just turning into a bunch of clips of, us being goofy and drunk and throwing shit at each other, it's an actual story of how it began, how it starts to really take off. You can feel it. This band is going places. There's the footage of the Nelson tour where we're playing in front of 15,000 people every night. And then the moment where it stops happening, and proceeds from there.
And of course, recently as well, you had the tour with Dan Reed over in the UK. I had some friends go over to that. They said it was an absolutely amazing night.
It was special for us, and I'm glad the audience found it too, because we kept it very loose. The idea was that we do. He'd learned 2 of my songs, I'd learned 2 of his, and we picked 2 covers. So we knew we were going to do 6 songs together, but we were going to be on stage the entire time together. And we both realized very quickly that neither one of us is particularly precious, and both were very respectful of each other's talents. So we just kind of said, hey, if you hear something on whatever song, jump in. And that's what started happening, is you had this, I'd start adding backing vocals to songs I really didn't know, like some of his solo material I didn't know so well. And but I get that chorus in my head, and then he has this beautiful song called "What Dreams May Come" that just knocked me out first time I heard it. So by second night I was singing on that with him, and he got his foot wet with Standing Alone. And he said, I'd really like to try a little bit of that. And he did like the first 2 lines. And I've never heard anyone sing it but me, and I was like, wow, how different and great, so I was like, you got the whole first verse, go, and he was a bit nervous about it because he knows that song is beloved, the same way Rainbow Child is beloved, and there are a few people that said that we could have gone on stage and not played music and they'd have been happy because we got really silly after a while, doing cartoon voices and telling stories.
Your wife tells me that you can do an excellent Daffy Duck.
Daffy, not so great, Daffy, actually. She's leading you on there. I've got a few others I can do, but Daffy's a tough one, and I got to scream. Well, so maybe later.
So what's the best thing for you about playing a cruise? The cruise, I mean, who would imagine 20 years ago
that true?
rock bands would be on a big boat?
No, it's the last thing any of us do. We'd say, whatever we're doing, I'm not doing a flipping cruise, you know? And that's become the way of things. Well, rock fans are now in our 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and these are people with money to spend, you know, with extra money. Teenagers can't do stuff like this. They don't have this kind of money, and it's a shame because it's a brilliant idea. It's very familial. That's the best way I can put it. You know, especially coming back the second time. Now the crew members are all familiar to us, and you know, they know who we are, and it's just, well, you just walk down the deck and people stop you and take a picture and tell you these fantastic stories about when they've seen you, or you know, this is my first time, I didn't even know who you are until somebody said come and see this band. And it's great, you know. And most of the bands really get into it. I know there's a few guys that kind of stay in their cabins and stay away, and that's fair. You know, some people are just not social outside of what they do. But that's the vibe of it. And we're all on this fantastic vacation out in the middle of the deep blue sea, heading for an island with white sand beach. And that's the weird one. Last year, it really was the most surreal thing to be walking down this beach island, and I'm just nothing. I'm going, hey, Mike Portnoy, how's it going? Mike Tran, what's up? CJ Snare, good to see you. What's going on? You know, it was like Valhalla for musicians. You know, like we didn't realize we'd all passed away in our sleep and woken up in this paradise. You know.
So what can we expect tonight? Are you going to throw obviously all the old numbers that everyone loves?
Well, we've got an hour set, so it's always a tough juggle. We're out on the pool stage, the bright sun is shining and all that, so a few people will be disappointed, but it's not the right time for Standing Alone.
Right.
You know, so I think it's going to be the Tyketto 1-2 punch. I don't think it's going to let up until the hour's up.
Cool. That's great. Well, thanks so much for talking to
thank
the
you.
Rockpit, Danny. It's a pleasure to meet you. Finally.
I have a philosophy. Once you write a song and record it and put it out in the world, it doesn't belong to you anymore. It belongs to whatever it is that people want to do with it, whatever you use it for. I hope it makes you happy because you guys made us happy today. Thank you so much for having us back. I will see you all on the island tomorrow. I am working. Forget it.